ESPN 102.7 FM and 104 The Score in Glasgow. Brought to you by Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating and Cooling and Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center. With your host, Brian Webb. Also starring John Kirby and Sergeant J.D. Williams from Mohawk Outdoors. Josh Honeycutt from Realtree Outdoors. Also made possible by Swagger Bipods, the Van Store Bowling Green and Glasgow, your Can-Am headquarters, J&K Used Cars on the Bypass, United Furniture and Appliance, our national sponsor, Big & J Long Range Attractants. Segments in part by Rockcastle Shooting Center, The Rock, and Renegade Marine, featuring Realtree's Michael Pendley Timber 2 Table Wild Game Recipes. Made possible by Pabst Beef Jerky, fueling your outdoor lifestyle. And all phone interviews via the Linex of Bowling Green hotline. Get ready for all things outdoors. Here's your host, Brian Webb.
I am Southern Kentucky Great Outdoors. I am your spirit of the wild brother. God bless America. God bless Kentucky. God bless working hard, playing hard American families in the asset column. We are blood brothers.
Hello, blood brothers and sisters. It's time for another episode of Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors. We're playing some air drums up in here. Garrett getting excited. We like the Nuge. John Kirby in the house wearing his Deer Eater shirt.
Playing air guitar and eating Grippo's beef jerky.
Oh, what do you
buddy.
think about that new beef link?
Dude, it's solid. I'm not mad at it. We'll put it that way.
You take it with you on a long trip?
Supposed to be a great deer
deer
snack,
stand,
and I'm
yeah.
all about deer snacks.
Yes,
Just
you
ask
are.
my wife. I mean, I'm a deer snack connoisseur.
I see she's heard about enough about deers. You know.
I'd say probably so.
You better
Thank
not leave
goodness
out
she's
that.
awesome.
You better not leave out that jerky when we're here working those WKU basketball games at 8:00 at night. Just letting you know.
Well, we got a whole
ahead
bag
time.
of Grippo's chips over here that Jim brought us by, too. Fueling your outdoor lifestyle. We're going to get him on the line here in a minute. We're going to have our Renegade Fishing segment. We're going to switch it up a little bit tonight. We've got Pendley coming in on the other bookend, but we're going to start the show with fishing tonight. We're going to talk to Dale Holliday. We also got John Kirby on. Is going to be talking about his article a little bit, and we're going to talk about this youth deer we saw this guy kill, because you made a point that I didn't even think of earlier, John, and we want to circle back on that. And then just John and I tonight, so he'll be doing a lot more talking than normal, because as you know, I might be okay at a host, but I'm not a very good deer hunter. No, that's funny. Dale Holliday, man, he's the guy that's like on time, buddy. So we're going to get him on the line. But, John, what have you been doing while we're getting Dale Holliday on? What have you been doing here lately?
Yeah, I had Josh Kinser from Big & J in last week, and another veteran, Josh LaValle, a good buddy of JD's and Josh's, had them in and hunted the first 5 days of gun season. It was a lot of fun. Saw some good deer activity, not a lot of rut activity. Things are a little weird this year, which we'll get into later, but had a great time hunting with some veterans. Got to hunt with a veteran on Veterans Day, which was pretty cool.
That is.
Always nice to get out and
Awesome.
get to spend some time outdoors with veterans.
We got one that's with us every now and then. He's always busy, but he's in sometimes. We'll fill the void of that. Josh is out tonight, Josh Honeycutt, but we good to go. So stick around. You're going to enjoy it like always. But we got him on the Linex hotline, and we'll pay a sponsor here with an intro, and then we're going to move into the interview, Garrett, if you want to hook me up.
It's time to go fishing with Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center, 415 Commerce Drive, Litchfield, Kentucky, on SOKY's Great Outdoors.
On the Linex hotline, Linex bedliners, Roger, Gina Cowan. Get over there and see him. Louisville Road, Porter Pike, you know where it is. Right there where that bridge that goes over the train track, right by that minute mark on Porter Pike intersection. John, it's almost scary because you don't think you can get two cars through that thing. You been down through there headed to Plum Springs?
I have indeed. Yeah, there's some pucker factor going on there.
It's some puckering up, man.
And if you're a sportsman, you got to get that Line X done, man. It can save your vehicle, save your truck. And
How could you
with
have
the
a
winter
truck and
coming,
not have
a
it?
lot of people, I think nowadays, are actually Line Xing their frame
They're
of their
doing it.
trucks. So that's another
Some of
thing
them are doing
to.
it on the outside as a paint
I've seen
job.
that a lot too. People do that to boats as well.
Pretty
but,
cool.
But to protect their frame from rust, a lot of people are Line
Man,
Xing that.
If you live in Michigan, you can't not have it done.
Yeah.
Because your car don't last as long as your payments.
Absolutely.
And that's not good.
I would never buy a car from up there.
No, never. I brought a Prelude one time from Wisconsin. That
Like
thing
Swiss cheese in 5
out.
years, yeah.
Hey, folks, got him on the Line X hotline. Let's get with him right now. Dale Holla. Dave, what's going on, Dave?
Oh, not too much, guys. Thanks for having me on again.
You're welcome, buddy. Sorry to make you wait there. We were introing and everything and doing our thing there, and we couldn't wait to get
no
you
worries.
on, buddy.
I'm at my daughter's school waiting to pick her up from the play practice. She's playing Watson in the school's Sherlock Holmes.
Ooh, elementary, my dear Watson.
That's right, a good lead role.
That is a good. That's not. They're not. Whoever the antagonist is going to be, probably whoever the villain is they're trying to find. But so basically, protagonist would be Sherlock, and
That's right.
and co-protagonist would be your daughter.
That's right.
Oh, I'm impressed. Even Garrett over here with that knowledge.
Definitely didn't think you had any English skill.
Yeah, I thought he was speaking Chinese, to be honest. I got no
My
idea.
grammar, on the other hand, is not really good, but literature, I love that class. I don't do any reading, though, Dave, unless it's a fishing book or something. I'll read that. But you don't need a fishing book because you're Dale Hall of Dave.
Everybody can use a little help.
Yeah, you still learn every day, don't you? I mean, seriously?
Yeah, I try to.
Well, that's what makes great fishermen great fishermen. Wouldn't you say, Dave? Always a student, always trying to perfect things and get better and find new ways to have an advantage.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd say definitely every time you go, you want to walk away with something new. You know, whether your fishing was as good as other days, as long as you learned something, you've had a successful day. And sometimes it's just about tying your boat up properly, you know, making sure your safety chains are on. And other times it's, you know, about the actual fish. It's about time of day, presentation, different things, you know, why they're one place and not another, you know, that sort of thing.
Well,
you know, to put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Absolutely. And same goes for the listeners out there that are hunters. You know, being the consummate student will get you way further than letting your ego get in the way. Just something good to keep in mind. Anyway, Dale Hollow Dave, what's happening up at Dale Hollow Lake right now? What are you into? What are you catching?
Well, it's all about smallmouth right now. We're catching a ton of big smallmouth. We're about to start getting into trolling for some walleye. And you know, coming up probably the end of November, I take a trip next week for that, and we'll start fishing for muskies too if people want to do that. But really, most of the winter, the big draw is the smallmouth because they're just putting on the feed bag. They're starting to get really fat for spawn already. You know, we've got all winter through early April probably on a pattern like this. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Man, how come is it every time I follow you religiously? I know John does too. But it seems like every time the girls are in the boat, they catch a bigger fish. Have you got something to do with that, or is that just the way it's working out?
No, I think a lot of it's luck of the draw with it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times they take turns on the fish, and other times it's just what happens. You know.
I mean, what's it like when a 90-pound soaking wet young lady hooks into a big muskie about 40 pounds? What happens?
They're about pulling them out of the boat. I've seen that before.
Speaking of muskie, I'm dying to know what's the best muskie day you can remember on Dale Hollow Lake. How many muskie in a day?
Best day I've ever had. We landed 2. We had 6 on. 2 of them we saw. You know, they came up and rolled before they came free. And the other 2, we just knew they were muskie hits because only this muskie will hit that hard.
So here's my question, Dave. Is catching a like if I'm just going down there and never fished for muskie, I've heard this from other guys. It's not something you just go do. I mean, you got to know a lot about it, and they're hard to catch. So basically, a day like that, that's a Super Bowl day for you right there.
Oh yeah. One muskie's a good day, and I kind of talk myself out of a lot of trips because I'll get like 4 guys that call me and want to go for muskie, and I'll be like, well, y'all decide which one of you is going to catch one today, because that's probably all we'll get.
Yeah, the fish.
You know what I mean? So 2 guys, you can kind of take turns every half an hour or something like that. But you get 4 guys, you got a 1 in 4 chance of getting one realistically. You know, we might pick up a smallmouth or some other stuff while we're fishing for them, but, you know, that's not what we're going for. So
The fish of 10,000 casts. It kind of holds true, doesn't it, Dale Holiday?
Oh, it does. It does. They're smart, you know, they're followers. You know, they'll tend to follow a bait a long time before they hit it. You've got to cause it to change somewhat. It's a difficult lake to cast in because it's so massive, and the muskies are so spread out that really the only way to get them is to troll and cover water.
Will you ever pick up a fish sometimes that's trailing your bait with the figure 8 move?
I have done that. You don't get that opportunity while you're trolling. I've actually had more success with that in the springtime, late March, April, early May at night, casting topwater for walleye. A lot of times we'll be casting topwater for them, and then when you get it back to the boat, you do a couple figure eights. And a lot of times if those walleyes have been following it, they'll come and hit it right at the boat.
Man, I got a question that was proposed to me just Tuesday and yesterday, and I wanted to ask you this, Dave. I was talking to a friend of mine, Bill Decker, who's very good fisherman. I mean, definitely way above average, not as far as knowledge and talent in the game. But he was telling me that a lot of he fished last weekend, and a lot of his fish were just barely trying to bite the very end of his crankbaits. Is there any?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
We call that short striking. They do that when we're on a slower pattern. They're still feeding, but they're not feeding aggressively. So when I'm fishing live bait, a lot of times I'll even put a second hook in them, like a little treble hook at the other end, like a stinger hook, like you would sauger fishing. And a lot of times that picks up the fish. Most of the times you don't have to do that. You can let them have it for long enough that they'll get the J hook out of their tail or their nose, wherever you've hooked them. But yeah, sometimes I add that treble hook just for that because, I mean, when they're really short striking, it's hard to get hookups trolling and fishing live bait with spinning reels, casting out for them. I mean, you'll feel the hit, you'll see the run, but they just don't grab enough of it to get the hook. So that's where that second, using like a little number 6 or a number 8 treble hook tied on. What I do is I tie a snell knot to my J hook, which enables me to utilize the tag end of the snell knot to tie another knot. I mean, any of the knot you tie is going to be weak below the knot. So if you tie a second hook onto it and get a good fish, it's going to break off about 95% of the time. Where if you use that snell knot around the actual shaft of the hook and then leave yourself a good 6 inches of tag off the end so you can tie a treble hook onto it, and just go from there.
Man, that was an amazing answer. I mean, you just totally explained that so well. I mean, I'm glad that somebody said that to me because I was thinking that today. I wanted to ask you that question. I'm glad I remembered it because I don't really remember a lot of stuff sometimes, Dave.
Did you say, Dave, that you're trolling right now for smallmouth, or you're getting ready to start trolling?
No, we're getting ready to start trolling for walleye and muskie, but right now we're just using live bait for smallmouth.
What kind?
Using spinning reels and in either a shiners or catching owleyes and threadfin shad out of the lake and using them.
Yep. What are you looking for? What needs to happen for you to start trolling for walleye and muskie? What are you kind of looking for there?
Well, a lot of times the bait will start building up on the flats and in the creeks, and when the bait builds up in there, the fish tend to follow. And so walleye are pretty quick to follow the bait.
How's the lake looking?
It's looking way down. It's ever since they got all shell shocked with that massive flood, record flood we had back in March. They've been pulling all summer, and we got a lot of rain through June, early July. But after that, it's been very same place where you're at. It's been few and far between with the rain. Yeah. And they pulled and pulled and pulled. So we're down more than 20 feet from where we were at flood stage.
Wow.
Right now.
What's that opposed to winter pull down there, Dave?
Well, we're usually around 650 or so, and we're down around 638.
Okay. Yeah, there's not a huge variation in winter and summer pull on Dale Hollow, is there? Not like a lot of these reservoirs
really
around here.
About 5 to 10 foot a year, and it's been more than 20 foot this year. So that shows you the vary. But it was an 80-year record back in March, the highest the lake's ever been, and that was just over 660.
Wow, yeah, we're expecting some rain here in the next few days. I'm sure y'all are going to get some of that same system, aren't you, Dave?
Oh, yeah, we need it too. I won't complain about it because the lake's at the verge or is turning over, and they've stopped generating because we're so low. And if we don't get some water in there, they won't generate anymore, which will drag the turnover, on and make it last a lot longer. I mean, turnovers can be rectified or straightened out pretty quick if they're generating. But like last year, it rained so much they were generating around the clock, so the turnover, barely affected us. But this year, I have a feeling that it's going to leave us. It'll leave us in a kind of a holding pattern, which makes the trolling much more difficult because the fish are lethargic. Well, if you're fishing live bait for them slowly, you got a better chance at them.
How much do you? And I want to ask you another question. I want to save that one for a second. I mean, in the last week and since October, what's the biggest smallmouth you've seen pulled in?
Yeah, we've had a 6-pounder, and they're just starting to get big. I mean, we've had quite a few 20, 21s, 22 inchers. Some of them have been really fat. I look to see the biggest ones in February and March and maybe early April. We've got an early April full moon, so I would think that the lion's share of the smallmouth will spawn on that early full moon. Last year it was late April, so we had the whole month of April to keep fishing for them before they were totally on bed and and spawning. And this year it's going to be a shorter year with the early full moon. So some of them might wait till May to spawn, but
I can't believe you said that, because my question that I paused on I was gonna ask you, how much do you depend on the lunar cycle and how important is it?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, I look at it every day when I'm fishing, and a lot of times it's so accurate it's insane. Other times you've got to worry about barometric pressure, which can trump that. The closer you are to the full and new moon, the more important the lunar cycle is. But when you're, a couple weeks between the two, it's not quite as important. But whenever you've got the barometric pressure changing rapidly, like fronts coming through, then that trumps the lunar cycle all day long. But when you're looking at bluebird skies or pretty stable weather conditions, it's all about the moon.
Do you, talking about all this great fishing with Dale Hollow Dave, listeners might want to know, do you have any openings coming up?
I do. This time of year is kind of slow for me. I fish a lot, but between deer season and football season and fair weather fishermen and everything else going on, I don't get quite as many. Like a lot of my regular fishing clients are big time hunters too. So I'd say probably November, December are my two slowest months, and they're great fishing. But I think in December a lot of people are getting ready, for Christmas, so they're spending money on other people and not themselves.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what. Right now, though, a gift idea for some of our listeners, a trip with Dale Hollow Dave, and I think you do some half days too. Some don't you, Dave?
Well, I do in the afternoons. If I book the morning, the 8-hour morning, a lot of times I'll book a second trip in the afternoon. Usually, from Black Friday through Christmas, I'll want a special on gift certificates too. It's $50 off. You go ahead and pay for the trip minus $50, and say $50, and then you can determine, at a later date when you want to fish. So it makes a good gift. You don't have to iron that out in advance somehow.
Oh, yeah. And the best place to find him, John, is on Facebook, right, Dave?
That's right. I'll be advertising that on Facebook only. So really that's a special for Facebook only. And I actually sold my first one tonight. I had a lady call me wanting to buy her. Her grandparents were wanting to buy her husband and grandson a fishing trip. So I went ahead and threw them the deal, even though it's not quite happening yet, just because, I could just say, call me back in 2 weeks or, we're looking at, Black Friday all the way through Christmas. I'll run that special, and I'll be publishing it on my Facebook page. So.
Webby got me all excited saying a lady called. I was hoping it was maybe Miss Kirby.
Teresa called. Or Angie. I was like, maybe it's Angie. We got to get down there, John. You'll enjoy spending the day with Dale Hollow Dave. I know I did. And, it's the gift that keeps on giving, Clark Griswold, because basically those are memories, man, that you will never, ever delete from your brain.
Well,
No, I agree, man. That's really the best part of my job is the people I get to meet and being part of those memories. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many times I've had 3 and 4 generations on my boat where they're letting the grandkid catch everything and everybody's watching. Oh. My boat's so big that Mom could come along, too, instead of just Dad and a couple of sons, if she wants. And I've got a heater for the boat and a bimini, that kind of stuff. So, it stays relatively comfortable. So
that's pretty special, what you just said there, Dave. And I would imagine booking a trip with you is a great way to introduce maybe a father or a mother want to introduce their kid to fishing with somebody with your skill level and your passion, getting down there and learning from the best. Great way to probably introduce some people to fishing as well, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I'd say that. I'd say for little kids, if you could get them on a farm pond that's full of bluegill, or small crappie that are too small to really eat but easy to catch, that thing could be dynamite because, it's all about instant gratification these days. But definitely taking them out with a guide that's going to put them on fish and where the kids won't get bored.
Yep.
That's a big thing. And this time of year we're using light tackle and, spinning rods. So, I mean, it's easy for, I've had 6-year-old kids on the boat, catch a big smallmouth.
That's awesome.
You might have to help them with the rod a slight bit, but, there's a lot of type of fishing you do that you wouldn't get that. Like, striper fishing on the Cumberland River. You might get 1 or 2 stripers in a day, and they might be big, but that's no fun for a kid.
Right. Great way to light that fire, Brian. And it goes with hunting too. That's why dove hunting, squirrel hunting, something that's got some more action involved is a great way to get a kid involved to kind of keep them in the game.
That's absolutely right. Dave, I can remember the first time I ever dropped a pole in the water, and I'm not kidding you. It was probably 1978 or 9, and we were sitting on the top of a station wagon backed up to the pond, and there's so many cattails it wasn't mowed down, but there's a lot of fish in there, and we had big old cane poles, man, and Dad just backed it all the way down to the side of the water, and I remember catching my first big old fat brim, and I was hooked for life, man. I was sitting on that 95-degree hot tin car roof, and I never complained 1 minute. I just loved it.
Yeah, I got hooked the same way. It was 79 and Percy Priest Lake in Nashville.
Oh, yeah. Percy Priest, yeah.
Zepco 33s and bobbers and minnows for crappie. My dad rented a little 14-foot boat. We were new to Nashville, and he hadn't bought a boat yet and took me out doing that, and then he bought a boat. And every time they wanted to go out water skiing, I was like, drop me on that bank over there. And I had my tail and my little spinning rod, and, man, that's all I did. I didn't care about water skiing or inner tubing.
That's
all
awesome.
I wanted to do was catch some bluegill and bass, and I was hooked ever since.
There's been a fish or two caught on the Zepco 33.
Oh, many. I tell you, man, I
think that's what everybody started with.
I was the bank buddy. I'd get up there and walk I'd walk, as long as I'd walk the whole pond. And then they come out with a little scamper. Remember those little 2-man boats? And my buddy had one, and man, I was like, we are in the money.
High life.
Oh, it's high life. We were getting in farm ponds and getting right up to the cattails and flipping and everything, man.
Oh, yeah.
Living large.
Little, pond prowler boats.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
You got enough for a small battery and a little trolling motor.
Absolutely.
A trolling motor if you want it, yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't afford the battery, but it would have took one.
There's a spot
no
for one.
No trailer needed either. You could put it right in the bed of your truck.
Yeah, you could. Just fit right in the bed of your truck.
Put it in the back of the El Camino.
Those things were like $400 back then, and show you inflation. Now you go try to buy one, they're like $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit, everything's so much.
It's crazy how much stuff is, and that's what makes it even more of an economically awesome choice to book a trip with you, because it's very relatively inexpensive, especially for what you get to do, man. I was amazed when I found out just how much you could have enjoyment, and because you bring it all. All you got to do is show up and jump in the boat.
Yeah, you need the license and appropriate clothes, whatever you want to eat and drink. I provide everything else, and I have not gone up on my prices in a decade because I'm trying to keep it affordable so I can fish with those people who only hire one guide a year, and that's all they can afford. I still want to be able to fish with those people.
Awesome.
I don't want to have to ask people for their taxes before I charge them. You know what I mean?
I know, and I wish there was no such thing.
The price as low as I can so those people can fish. And generally, I think the people that are doing a little bit better in life realize how I'm doing that, and they tend to take care of me a little bit more.
I guarantee.
That factor. But that's good that they have that choice. And I like to be able to offer that as well, like I said.
Well, hopefully gas won't ever go back up to what it was a couple years ago. So we want that had to put a crunch on you.
9 years ago, $4.50 a gallon. It was bad. I was driving, man. It was rough. That's for sure.
Oh, I bet that was, man. I'm glad I was.
I'd fish a hole out before I moved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're fishing close to where you want.
Less trolling, folks. Dave.
Well, I got the electric trolling system, so I don't use my gas motor that much.
Oh, that's cool.
Sometimes I don't. So it's all charged batteries, And I use golf cart batteries, so I've got a 36-volt system. So that's 6 golf cart batteries.
Those aren't cheap.
They'll go all day, no problem.
They're not cheap, though.
They're not cheap, but, you got to have the right tool for the job. And if I can troll for 12, 13 hours just on them, that's what I need.
Does it mount to your big motor?
No, I had one of those in my previous boat. This is I use the Minn Kota Tarova iPilot.
Yeah.
So it's it's the first 112 they came out with.
Yeah.
So it's actually not a new one. I've had it about 5 years, and I swear it's a real testimony for Minn Kota and the power of them, because I guide over 300 days a year. There's no telling how many hours that thing's running year round, and I've got 5 years on that motor, and I had to replace where it steers left and right. The bearings went out on the gears, but besides that, the motor itself solid. The iPilot's good.
Yeah.
And you figure 5 years. As much as I fish, that's about a 40-year-old motor.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
So if you got 40 years out of your trolling motor, I think you'd be happy.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
If I got Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, unbelievable, especially where they make things today. You don't get 40 years out of nothing.
Yeah, I'll be lucky to get 40 years out of this body.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, my legs, I barely got 47 out of them. And
Yeah.
It's about over with. Dale Holiday, man, we can't thank you enough. Always a great pleasure. I'm sure the young one's going to be coming out telling you what hopefully a great job, how much fun she had in her theater practice. And I was a drama guy, so I know what that's like. I loved it, man.
Yeah, she's done a little bit of everything. We're proud of her. She was the MVP for this season for her girls soccer team at West End Middle. And she does that. She's in the bands, robotics club. She does everything. There's never a dull moment with her.
Yeah, she sounds like a ball of fun, man. And I tell you, she's probably going to end up being a fisherwoman, too.
Well, she likes to fish. I take her out. She's been out with me in the cold and the sun, and she's caught smallmouth and walleye. She's got, bluegill, spotted bass. She's got a little bit of everything.
I wish Dale Holiday was my daddy.
Well, surprisingly, my kids don't like to fish as much as I think a lot of kids do. But, I don't force it on them. I take them when they want to go, and I don't make them go out. I know a lot of guys are like, well, we're going fishing. You know what I mean? That's it. We're going.
Absolutely. Oh, buddy.
I figured I want them to enjoy it when they get older and not be turned off by it, and not be forced into it. And that way, when they're old enough to really enjoy it, after they get past girls and everything else, then they'll be ready.
Yeah, unfortunately, I never got past it. So, but hey, man, you're the best, and we can't wait to get back down there and fish with you, man. Hopefully, maybe before December, I can hook up with you.
Well, I've got plenty of dates then, so you guys give me a holler, and I'd love to have you guys again. And thank you for having me on again.
Always a pleasure. Dale Holiday, everybody, Elvis of Dale Hollow Lake, and you can catch him right there on Facebook. And seriously, if you haven't ever spent a day with him, take our advice and do it, because it is an absolute blast. You'll remember it forever. Dave, thanks so much.
All right, thanks again, guys.
All right, man. We'll be right back here with the Rockcastle Shooting Center hunting segment coming up. And Nick and Nate Noble will be here top of the hour. They got a great show lined up tonight. You want to stick around for that one right after hours. But still coming up on the show, John Kirby, myself, and then we'll have Timber to Table on last little bit here. So don't go anywhere. ESPN 102.7, 104 The Score.
Well, we're going to have to replace them plug wires. Your steering pump's done went out, too. Going to have to get you a new fuel filter, probably about 4 new tires, windshield wipers, and fluid, because they ain't working neither. Then we're going to have to rebuild that chassis, put in a new flux capacitor. Really going to run you around $14,000.
You wouldn't take that guy's first opinion when it comes to working on your car. So why would you take the first opinion when it comes to fixing your HVAC unit? When preparing for the cold, turn to the experts, where your comfort is our concern. Bowling Green Refrigeration, your local Carrier dealer, servicing Carrier and all major brands. If you have heater problems in the middle of the night, call the 24-hour emergency hotline for Bowling Green Refrigeration at 270-782-5391. 782-5391. Get your HVAC unit serviced now to prevent problems tomorrow with Bowling Green Refrigeration, your local Carrier dealer, where your comfort is our concern.
Okay, I'm on 65 right now. Which exit do I take?
You're going to want to take I-165.
No, I'm on I-65.
No, take I-165. Should be on the sign.
I'm pretty sure that's not a 1 there. I'm pretty sure that's just another I. I-65?
Aye. Well, ahoy, Polloy.
Look, I'm looking at it. I just don't see a 1 there. It's just I-6.
Suffering from post-natural confusion? See Gary Force Paint and Body Shop. iCar Gold Shop, certified with a lifetime warranty. 311 Vanderbilt Drive, behind the Scottsville Road Post Office.
In stores now, Pabst Grippo's Beef Jerky. We have taken the great Pabst Beef Jerky and married it with the iconic Grippo's Barbecue Seasoning. This is a marriage made in beef jerky heaven. The thin cut of Pabst Beef Jerky is dusted to perfection with Grippo's Seasoning. Once you try it, you will know no other beef jerky compares. So the next time you're headed on a road trip to the lake or your favorite golf course, be sure to have Pabst Beef Jerky fueling your outdoor lifestyle. PabstJerky.com. Ask for us at your local store.
This is Nate from Rockcastle Shooting Center. Did you know that one of the premier shooting ranges in the world is right here in South Central Kentucky? Rockcastle Shooting Center has something for everyone's recreational shooting enjoyment. From 3D archery to our brand new sporting clays course, handgun ranges full of steel to targets out to a mile. There's no better place to get some trigger time than Rockcastle Shooting Center. Non-members are welcome, and memberships start at $150 per year. We offer a fantastic range of firearms training and education opportunities from the most basic to the most advanced. Come see us, exit 48 on I-65, Park City, Kentucky. Visit rockcastleshootingcenter.com.
out in these Beverly Hills getting sorry every day. Me and Duke went as far back in the brush as you could go. The only thing we flushed out was a couple of real estate agents.
It's time to do some hunting on SOKY's Great Outdoors, brought to you by Rock Castle Shooting Center at Park Mammoth Resort, 22850 Louisville Road in Park City, Kentucky.
Welcome back. We're not dueling any banjos, but it's fun to listen to. Oh, man, there's nothing better than a banjo, and nothing better than John Kirby, my good old buddy, for many, many, many years. And we're going to hang out here and talk a little bit. He's going to kind of tell you where it's at right now, what's going on, and if you haven't filled that tag, what you can do to secure that. And, folks, if you got a question, we'll throw out the number here in a little while, and you can call after the break, and we'll take one caller tonight, and John can answer your questions. So I'll give you that number shortly. But, John, roll with it, baby.
Yeah, man, absolutely. For those folks still out there looking to fill their buck tag, we're kind of right smack dab in peak rut, maybe a little behind peak rut, actually. A lot of these big mature bucks are locked down with does right now, Brian, so a lot of folks are probably seeing kind of a lull in rut activity at this point. And that can be disheartening to a lot of folks. But certainly it's not time to panic yet, because a lot of these mature bucks are going to be parting ways with their loved does here any time now. And they'll come off of this lockdown and they'll be right back on the search for a hot doe, a hot estrus doe. So there's still a lot of action to be had, so it's not time to panic just yet. And even so, even after the rut is over with, late season can be really productive. It's all about food again late season. And there's in a lot of ways it's like hunting the early season again, because it's all about that food.
You can read John Kirby, Realtree Outdoors. Just got a new article just came out, John. And I think the thesis was basically if you've been hunting in the same woods all your life.
Yeah, hunting the same properties year after year, and especially for those folks that maybe just have one property that they hunt year after year. Being bored of that property is not the right word, because it's never boring to get out there and hunt. That's never the case. But you can kind of get into a little bit of a rut and start relying on past experiences and past encounters, and kind of forget what's going on around you, the subtle changes that happen. There's some major changes that happen year in, year out, like logging or big agricultural changes, but there's also a lot of small subtle changes that if you're not on your toes and on your game, you can kind of forget about. So, yeah, it's a cool article on Realtree.com. Realtree's such a great resource. That new 365 app's awesome. Any question you have about hunting, you can find the answer to on Realtree.com. No question. And another thing, kind of about the rut, Brian, we actually had a lot bigger mass crop than I initially thought, and I think a lot of folks thought. We had a lot bigger mass crop than we thought we had, and that kind of limited a lot of these folks that have been hunting on the rut the last few weeks, kind of in these field edges or open agricultural areas, not quite seeing the rut behavior that they have in the past. And I think a lot of that is due to these acorns. Still a lot of acorns on the ground, and these does are feeding in the timber still. So I kind of think if you're one of those folks out there hunting these edges, it's time to get back in the timber, because that's where the does are at and they're feeding. Another thing to keep mindful of, these bucks, when they find a hot doe, especially down here in crunch time like we're at, they're going to get that doe as far away from any possible intruder, any other buck coming in looking for love. So you don't want to overlook those obscure places that you would often overlook and think, man, that would never hold a big buck. These small little patches of woods or just little tiny grown-up areas, a lot of those places are holding big bucks right now, and they're laid up with a doe.
Looking for nub in all the wrong places.
That's right. And known doe bedding, still a really good bet. Still a really good bet to camp out around known bedding. You'll find these bucks coming in, searching these doe bedding areas, looking for an estrus doe. All-day sits, man, that's something that I'm a huge proponent of. It's not easy. It's certainly not always easy. It's not only is it not only easy to do, but it's hard to find a time, right? A lot of us don't have the time to go out and sit all day to boat, all day to a tree stand, but it can absolutely pay off big time this time of the year.
Saturday's football, Sunday's Jesus, Monday through Friday working.
Yeah, that's right. And so something else to remember, in the next 7, 8, 9, 10 days, as the rut really kind of starts to peter off, and a lot of folks maybe, kind of like, well, I missed my opportunity to kill a buck during the rut. Well,
not the case.
It's not the case because the only deer left actually really out seeking and searching for estrus does are going to be the mature bucks that have the stamina to keep going, right? A lot of these younger bucks,
strong like bull,
they start chasing way early, like middle October, late October. They wear themselves out. So the last remaining bucks out searching over these next 2 weeks, pretty good likelihood it's going to be a big mature buck.
We were talking earlier, and it was kind of this young man. I saw Pendley after I saw your Facebook post today. I saw Pendley's and the youth hunt. Man, that kid, that was a monster, man. How old's that kid?
Man, I didn't see it. I hadn't had a chance to read it. I've been busy, but I saw the cover of it and the title, and I think it was that young man's first deer. And if I recall, it was around a 200-inch buck, which is, that's a deer.
That's a lifetime deer, isn't it?
5 lifetimes, really.
Are you serious?
99.9% of folks will never even see a 200-inch deer, much less get an opportunity to harvest one.
Is he just ruined it for the
And
future?
So, it's kind of funny. I actually am working on an article right now for Real Tree about that, about how a young person or even a new hunter, in my mind, and this might come off as selfish, but it doesn't. I don't mean it to be. I think a great first harvest for a youngster or a new hunter is a doe, right? I mean, if you kill a monster buck right off the bat, your expectations can get all out of whack and skewed. Maybe you just think it's easy, and that doesn't spark that interest and love for it like it did for me as a kid. So I don't know. I mean, I'm super happy for that kid. That is amazing. Hopefully he doesn't think it's easy. Hopefully that fire is lit in him, and he's a hunter for life.
Yeah, and I think it's a little different in fishing because you can catch a big one or a small one or what. You never know. You can't really see them. There's nothing to. It's luck a lot of times when you catch a big bass, or a big fish. But deer, I mean, it's so calculated and it's such a spiritual hunting. I think it's very spiritual, and if you have passion for it, and I just didn't have that passion for it, but you did, and Josh did, and a lot of guys and gals out there have it. I think it's much better to kill a doe. I think you're right on point when you say that because this kid's never going to probably ever see another shot like that come his way.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully that fire is lit in him, and we've got a lifelong hunter. I grew up in the perfect time. Born in '81, started hunting as a little bitty kid. So mid to late '80s. I might go 2 weeks and not even see a deer. We didn't have near the amount of deer. We're living in the good old days right now. Back in the 80s, I'd go 2 weeks without seeing a deer at times. And my first deer with a bow at 8 years old was a button buck that weighed about 60 pounds. I think my grandfather and I, when we went to throw it in the back of the truck, it was so small we actually threw it over the truck. But really, I mean, it was perfect. It showed me how difficult it was. It was a challenge. I knew it was a challenge. I sought out that challenge, and I just feel like that's the way to go to introduce a hunter. Not a chip shot, but not too grueling either. Not a monster, somewhere in between.
I love it. You're listening to John Kirby. This is Brian Webb here, Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors. We're going to take a break here in just a second, so we'll have time for one caller. I'm going to give you that number a couple times. It's 270-846-0222. It's 270-846-0222, and I think I said that right. I may have got it wrong. But, John, and John can answer a plethora of questions, so he's here for that. We'd love to do that. Josh is out tonight, so it gives us a little more time. And we got Pendley coming up. He's got an awesome. He's going to talk about the deer heart later, man. And John, I mean, have you ate much deer heart?
Not a lot, a little bit. It's one of those overlooked pieces of the deer. But, man, it can be good, and anything Michael Pendley makes is going to be good. So if you follow that recipe to a T, I guarantee you it's going to be good.
If you got a question, folks, we will ask John Kirby. Just give us a call. We'll take it down. We'll ask him after the break. It's 270-846-0222. What's that other number, Garrett?
It is 270-782-1945 if you want to reach us on the ESPN line. Again, 270-782-1945.
All right, folks. Garrett will answer it and take down your question. We'll be right back on Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors, ESPN 102.7, 104 The Score.
The U.S. Army is offering up to $65,000 in student loan reimbursement as a new enlistment incentive. The program is available for nearly 50 different occupations, covering both full-time and part-time careers in the U.S. Army and Army Reserve. The total amount of loan reimbursement varies depending on the length of the individual's enlistment contract. For more information, talk to your local Army recruiter or check us out online at www.goarmy.com.
The Vance store has in stock today the Liberty Zero Turn Mower by Skag. The Liberty Zero Turn Mower by Skag is available at a cut size as small as a 36-inch and as large as a 61-inch. You can buy a 36-inch Skag Liberty Zero Turn Mower for as low as $39.99.99. You can buy a 61-inch Skag Liberty for as low as $52.99.99. Can you believe it? A 61-inch Skag Zero Turn Mower for $52.99.99. Get a 5-year warranty, too. Come see the Vance store for a Skag Zero Turn Mower and get the mower that is simply the best.
Hey, it's Nick Noble with the Rockcastle Gun Show here. We're talking about Swagger bipods. Do you want just your average barrel rest, or do you want to shoot with some swagger? Introducing the Swagger bipods. They expand your shooting zone with Swagger, the all-terrain hunting bipod. After more than 100 years, finally shooters have a bipod with patented, flexible, hyper-extending telescoping legs that give you the agility like never before. So get rid of stiff legs and get the bipod with infinite maneuverability. Swagger, the bipod that moves.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When our clients come to us for representation, I see way more than a client. I see me. When I hear someone has a herniated disc or a back injury, I think, what if that was me? How would that impact my life? I put myself in your shoes and in your life. When I look at your family, I see my family. This outlook makes my firm think differently than most. I understand that some injuries are forever, and forever is a very long time. For 30 years, we've helped hundreds of thousands recover what they deserve. $1 billion last year alone. Every time we hear your stories, we feel like it's us. If you're injured in a car crash, slip and fall, or the victim of medical malpractice, call us because we care. Dial Pound Law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Offices Bowling Green.
Well, you get down the fiddle and you get down the bow. Kick off your shoes and you throw them on the floor. Dance in the kitchen till the morning light. Louisiana Saturday
Welcome back.
night.
John Kirby, Brian Webb, Garrett Brantley on the board. Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors, having a lot of fun coming up. Michael Pendley, Timber to Table. Don't want to miss it. Don't want to miss the Nobles coming in for the Rockcastle Shooting Center Gun Show. Always a good time, just like a carnival. But real quick, we did get one. Troy Dennis, Barron County boy, wanted to know with the weather coming up, John, with getting cold is kind of how he phrased it. How's the deer patterns going to change?
Yeah, man, cold weather's a good thing. You'll see a lot more daytime rut activity when you have some hot spells this time of year. You're still going to have the rut. It could be 120 degrees. The rut's still going to happen. It's just going to happen mainly at night. So a little cold snap's definitely a good thing. And kind of spreading that out even further, talking about late season, I mean, that's exactly what you want is some really good cold snaps. That gets those deer on their feet daylight to those food sources because they're trying to recuperate all that weight that they lost during the rut. They'll lose 30-35% of their body weight sometimes during the rut. That's how hard and intense that they go.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for the question, Troy. I was going to ask you, John. Last time I was like you, my first deer was a little spike, and I think he weighed 100 pounds or something. It was emotional and it was amazing, and a family was fed for months, off that.
Didn't it come off family land too?
It did came off family land.
That even makes it cooler.
It was awesome. I enjoyed it. My grandfather's a huge deer hunter, but I just it just didn't take with me because I just love fishing so much and golf that I didn't have the time to invest in it.
Absolutely.
But when no, not here, Nate Noble. He just rolled in. Gun show coming up, and I was gonna ask you, what are some of the just first questions I would ask. So if I was going to get back in it, had nobody to help me, and I wanted to start next season, and I wanted to bow hunt right out of the gate. What are some things, like maybe 3 bullet points that I need to make sure I cover before I start spending money and jump out there and try to do it?
Yeah, man, that's a great question, but we don't have enough time for the answer.
Yeah, we'll save the answer
because really there's a lot to it, and so. Well, that brings me to this point. Find a mentor. Find somebody that can show you the ropes, take you out. It's going to cut that learning curve so much.
If you've probably got an aunt, an uncle. You've probably an uncle or an aunt that hunts, or a cousin, or somebody in your family.
In the neighborhood, or somebody at church, whatever it is. Find a mentor. Great thing about hunters, they're usually great people and willing to help. So find yourself a mentor. They'll help you. They'll cut that learning curve down. They'll save you a lot of time, a lot of heartache, and a lot of money.
We don't want any heartache. I sure can't stand losing any money.
Well, buying gear that's not right for you. That's what I mean by money.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's exactly where I was thinking in my head. That was one avenue. You go out and you get the wrong stuff,
right?
You start off with the wrong bow.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's a bow
happens all the time.
It would happen to me because I'd walk in, over here and get one and wouldn't know what I was buying. And same if I was going gun hunting. If I went into Sherwood's. Or got on SherwoodsGuns.com and looked it up and found me a good deer rifle, I wouldn't know for sure if that was the right rifle for me. If it's 270, 30-06, 30-30, whatever.
Yep, absolutely, 100% agree.
Knowledge is power.
Not just with weapons, but bullets, and in the case of a gun, arrows in the case of a bow, broadheads.
Yeah,
there's so many things
different grain and windy weather.
Yeah.
Those are things I wouldn't know. Nate, I'm sure knows, don't you? Yeah, he does. Oh, folks, we got a few minutes here. Nate, what's been going on up at the Rock, man?
Relating to your show, I checked on 4 active scrapes today. Still scraping, still freshening scrapes. I've seen more deer in Butler and Evanston County chasing in the last 2 days than I have the rest of the season. Things are hot, and I'm ready to get to the woods.
Yeah, they abandoned scrapes really a few weeks ago on the farms that I've been on, which tells me that the lockdown is kind of opening back up, and you got some mature bucks back on their feet if you're seeing active scrapes again, and you're seeing a lot of rutting type activity.
Yeah, and it was pretty quiet before that, but the scrapes were still getting hit, which I don't understand. They've always been getting hit, but
it's been kind of an odd year. It's either hit or miss. Guys are either really in it or they're just not in the game altogether.
Y'all had a big weekend at the Rock. I'm sure you'll talk about it. Got some great guests coming up. So I was going to ask you guys, what do you think? Or is there? All right, I'm going to give you 4 counties. You tell me which one produces the best deers, like just from in the past.
Be a tough one.
Is it Butler County? Is it Butler? Is it Evanston? Is it Hart? Or is it Warren?
All 4 good.
All 4 good. Butler County has a thing where they have these giant 8-pointers.
I hear that all the time. Oh, best Butler County, best place to kill big deer.
A lot of Butler County has huge frames and not a lot of mass too.
And then, Evanston County cranks out around that national park, man. They crank out some big deer.
Warren County's overlooked a lot.
There's some giants that I've seen harvested in Evanston County that I haven't seen on anybody's social media.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. Come back with Timber to Table. Michael Pendley, brought to you by Pabst Beef Jerky. Get on PabstJerky.com. Get you some. We've been eating it in here. Boys, we left the beef link. I got some Grippo's chips over here if you get hungry during the broadcast. But stick around. Who's your guest real quick, Nick?
Yeah, we got a great show tonight. So we have Cheryl Todd with Gun Freedom Radio. She's has her own podcast and radio show. She's coming on. She's been in D.C. We got Daniel Horner, arguably the best shooter 3-gunner in the world. And then we got a great
Jeremiah Alexander from Right On Optics, new optics company that's popped up in the last few years. We're going to talk about scopes.
Right on.
Always got studs.
Don't go anywhere. Stick around. Realtree coming up. Timber to Table, Michael Pendley. Thank you, John Kirby. Garrett Browning, Brian Webb. Stick around for the Nobles, ESPN 102.7, ESPN Radio, and also 104 The Score.
Every room in your home, whatever it needs, United Furniture.
It's that time of year again. United Furniture's all-in-stock recliners, $3.99. That's right. Backed by popular demand, all-in-stock recliners, only $3.99. Choose from rockers, wall-aways, wide seat, swivel, massage, fabric, microfiber, durable in leather, and yes, even leather recliners. All-in-stock recliners, $3.99. United carries the absolute best selection of recliners in South Central Kentucky, with 65 recliners on United's showroom floor and over 120 in stock, ready to deliver when you want it. So don't miss United Furniture's all-in-stock recliners, $3.99. First come, first served while they last. Providing in-store financing and service with a smile, only at United Furniture and Appliance, 10th and State Street, downtown Bowling Green.
United Furniture. Couldn't
Summer's gone and you still don't have a Tracker, Nitro, Regency, or Sun Tracker boat. Don't wait. Get to Renegade Marine today so you've got that new Tracker, Nitro, Regency, or Sun Tracker boat for next summer. Get on the water next summer with Renegade Marine's huge selection of boats, with financing available so you can find the boat you want at a payment that fits. Service available too to make sure you're on the water as much as possible. Get to Renegade Marine, your authorized Tracker, Nitro, Regency, and Sun Tracker dealer. Just off the Western Kentucky Parkway, exit 107, or online at renegademarine.net.
Although hunting to most of us is much more than just harvesting animals, why not better your deer herd's health with Big & J Long Range Attractant? Big & J is highly digestible, high in protein, and isn't full of preservatives. With Big & J Long Range Attractants, you're not only exploiting one of the few weaknesses whitetails have, their stomachs, but you're maximizing antler growth, improving overall herd health, and pulling deer from your neighbor's property. So whether your goals are to fill the freezer, kill mature bucks, or both, Big & J Long Range Attractants will stack the odds in your favor, all the while making your deer herd bigger and healthier.
Man, that looks rough. That one got whacked good.
Yeah, I do know I'm getting sick of cleaning it up.
But it's all about the pay in the long run, right?
Yeah, you're right, but it'd be easier to quicker to go out and take us to Line X of Bowling Green.
Well, in the end, it's all about getting those hogs delivered, right?
You're right, but it sure is a mess. Forget about it.
Keep your bed easy to clean with Line-X of Bowling Green, truck accessories, and more. Line-X of Bowling Green on Louisville Road, Porter Pike intersection.
Welcome back. Going to close the show out today with Timber to Table, usually right at the top of the hour. We had to move some things around. And last but not least, this week is Michael Pendley, Timber to Table. Got him on the Line-X hotline. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys.
Man, first of all, I want to dive in. The wife knocked down a beauty and got a double here a while back. We're going to start with that, and then you're going to finish up with "If He Only Had a Heart." You're going to talk about that deer heart. I went back to the Wizard of Oz there for a second. It was one of my faves growing up, Pendley. I know you watched it, didn't you?
I like the monkeys.
Yeah, I always like the monkeys, too. I like it when they're tearing the scarecrow apart. That's great. Man, I tell you, you got a great one. We're going to find out a lot about deer heart and how to preserve it, how to take care of it, how to eat it. I mean, it's a really good part of the deer that, like you've said before, kind of gets discarded sometimes. But, man, before we do that, tell us about this beauty that Cheryl knocked down, man. What a nice looking.
Yeah. You know, of course, she took a little bit of time off for gun season. She always likes to get out and gun hunt a little bit. She doesn't bow hunt quite as much as she used to, but she does love to get out during gun season. And, you know, she'd been hunting several days, every day that season had been in. And a lot of them she'd set from daylight to dark and passed on several bucks, passed on a lot of does, just waiting for the right one. And I happened to be with her Saturday morning, and it was real still for the first time in about since season to come in. There wasn't much wind, and we heard him coming. He was coming down off the hill behind us, and I managed to get a glimpse of him as he was coming through the timber. We were hunting on the edge of a bean field, and I said, you know, I see him. I said, he looks like a shooter. I was just getting little bits and pieces of him. And she got her gun up and got ready. And sure enough, he stepped out, and it was a big, heavy, mature 4.5-year-old 10, one that we'd seen before in pictures and never seen in person. But he finally stepped out during the daylight. She made a perfect shot. He went, you know, maybe 30 yards, fell, and I knew he was down, so we just kind of sat tight and waited for a little bit. Everybody else was still hunting around us on the rest of the farm, so we were just sitting patiently, and a couple more came out, a really nice doe. And, of course, you know, we're always about filling up the freezers every year. And, she had 3 doe tags left, so she took that doe, too. It managed to run probably about the same, about 20 yards, and we could see both of them laying down in the cut bean field below us. So wasn't any tracking to it. Simple to load up. It was a really good morning. Yeah, that sounds like one of those you dial up and ask for, but may not get. You guys just got it that morning, didn't you? Yeah. They've been few and far between this year. It's been a tough season as far as seeing mature deer. We're seeing plenty of young bucks and several does, not quite as many as usual, but it's been pretty slim pickings on the mature deer. And I was really happy when this one stepped out because he'd put in a lot of time.
Well, if it's been that tough on the Pendleys, I'd hate to see the regular hunters up there. They're probably having a hard time, I'd say. Have you seen any big ones coming in around your area?
We actually just checked some cameras, and we've still got a couple of our early hit listers hanging around, and we've got one new buck that we'd never seen before. So we're still hitting it. Michaela and I are going to hunt and see if we can get her on one.
Oh, she'll get one.
Hunting,
she'll get one.
Hunter's hunting. So
y'all got it surrounded, I'd say.
Yeah. We're hitting a couple of farms pretty hard right now. Ours and then a couple close by. So
you got them flanked, Pendley. You got them flanked up there, buddy, and you'll probably make a couple great meals off of those two that Cheryl got earlier. That's going to be good stuff. We'll get to see some of the recipes that you're using them in. I'd say today we got one. You're going to talk to us about the deer heart, man. How important it is to hold on to that thing and enjoy it, because there's ways you can you'd be surprised at the taste, right?
Oh, absolutely. Deer heart is one of the most underused pieces of deer of venison that there is out there. A lot of people, they're kind of turned off a little bit by the flavor of liver or kidneys or anything like that. And I understand that. Those are things that you either like them or you don't. But the heart is different. It's just muscle, just like the shoulder or the back strap or the back ham. It's just a piece of muscle. It doesn't have any of the unusual flavor like, say, the liver has. It just tastes like venison. And, it's especially in a big buck, that's a big chunk of meat. And pretty often it gets left laying out in the gut pile. The cows enjoy it. But
sure, what a waste.
It's kind of a waste because it is really good. And a lot of deer camps, it's kind of tradition. That's the first thing that gets cooked. As soon as somebody kills one in camp, they take the heart and you can fry it up, you can grill it, you can do whatever you want with it. This week we're blackening it, just like you would blacken redfish.
Oh, yeah.
We're just cooking it, dipping it in the seasoning blend. And
is blackened
first we dip it in melted butter, and then we dip it in the seasoning blend. Then we put it in a hot skillet and just sear it all the way around. Takes 5-10 minutes to cook. And we cut them into strips so everybody can come by and just grab a strip. And,
man.
It's a really good appetizer or main course or whatever you want to do with it. But heart does take a little bit of extra work to clean it. It only takes a few minutes. It's not bad. But there are a couple things you need to do before you eat one. And what I like to do is, when you look at one, when you hold it in your hand, you'll notice that there's some valves on top and a little bit of fat and stuff. Trim all that away from the very top of it. Just start by trimming that off. And then if you'll look down the side of the heart, you'll see a pretty noticeable seam in the muscle. And you can take your knife and just cut through that seam, and basically you unroll that heart into a flat piece of meat. And when you do, you'll see there's some fibrous tissue. That's the fibrous tissue that really helps to contract the heart and pump the blood. And, of course, deer, as much as they run, they've got really strong heart muscles. So the easiest way to clean that is just take a fillet knife and just cut right along just underneath that fibrous tissue above the muscle and fillet that stuff right off. And what you're left with is basically a steak. It lays flat just like a steak. It'll be 3/4 to 1 inch thick, and depending on the size of the heart, it might be as much as 7 or 8 inches wide. And you can do any number of things with that. You can grill it whole like a steak. You can cut it into fingers and grill those fingers. We've made jerky out of them before, little jerky bites. One of our favorites is to chicken fry them, just to roll them in a little bit of a seasoned flour and fry them in a skillet, just chicken fried steaks that way. But like I say, this week we blackened it. We mixed up our general blackening seasoning, the same one we use basically with redfish or catfish or anything else that we're blackening. And then the process, like I said, it's super simple. You dip that meat in the melted butter. You dip it into that seasoning blend. put it straight in a hot, dry skillet. You don't add any oil or anything. That butter on the meat is all you need. And you just sear it, and heart's one of those muscles that's best served medium at most. Medium rare is better because it tends to get a little tougher if you overcook it like a lot of venison does.
Okay.
So I like to keep that down around medium rare, which means a pretty quick cook time on those.
Shot to the heart and you're to blame, baby. You give love a bad name. Remember that one, baby?
I do remember that one.
A little John Bon Jovi for you. Hey, listen, Michael Pendley, Timber to Table, Real Tree Outdoors. Check him out at Mickey Penn 70 on Twitter, Mickey Penn Eats on Instagram. Great follow both places, and you can always check him out on realtree.com. Hey, buddy, listen, we appreciate you. I wanted one question before I let you go, though. Is blackened, is that a Cajun thing? I mean, does that come from...
It is. Paul Prudhomme started that down in his restaurant down in New Orleans.
Louisiana.
Yeah, back when he started that redfish, it was a pretty cheap cut of fish, a pretty cheap species of fish. Not a lot of people used it, and he was looking for a way to cook it that was a little bit different that would kind of generate some interest.
Wow.
Because back at when he first started, that was a fairly inexpensive fish for the restaurant to buy. And he started doing that, and it became so popular that by a few years later, they would actually ask tables at Paul's restaurants to only order one order of redfish and split it as an appetizer.
Are you kidding me?
Because that recipe put such a strain on the population that they actually had to change the harvest regulations on them.
Are you kidding me? That is amazing.
That's a recipe that really changes the redfish whole industry.
Holy
cow! As far as regulations, as far as harvest numbers, you go down to the Gulf Coast now, and it's pretty limited. When we were back down earlier this fall, we were limited to one per person per day for that time of year.
You got to be kidding!
And it had to be a certain size too.
What? I mean, out of the one guy's innovation. That's really profound. Thanks for sharing that. That's a really cool tidbit. I did not know that at all. I mean, I would have never known that. Michael Pendley, that's what he's here for on the Line X Hotline, brother. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the show tonight, folks. Stick around. Coming in right now, Nick and Nate Noble, Rock Castle Gun Show, coming at you. 2 hours of double barrel power of outdoors and firearms. Michael Pendley, Brian Webb, John Kirby, and the rest of the crew, we appreciate you. See you next week. ESPN 102.7, 104 The Score.